Hello, and thank you for joining me in this New World game guide. I am Winslow, and today we'll be covering the basics of fortress defense, especially when it comes to corrupted invasions. The corrupted are the main antagonists in New World, and they periodically assault regional castles and fortresses. If you are looking for a specific part of this video, please feel free to use the chapter selections below. If you find this information helpful, please let me know in the comments. I would greatly appreciate your feedback. To start, you'll probably ask, just what are the corrupted? Well, they are beings that have been afflicted by a vile corruption that infects Eternum. They seek to regain control of the territories that have been claimed by the three factions. Their control starts out with various corruption rifts that appear in the countryside, and as they grow in power over time, the overall influence of the corrupted can cause stronger and more dangerous breaches. Ultimately, this leads to an invasion where their forces assault the fortress in an attempt to weaken the factions. During the invasion, the fortress is going to be the focus of the battlefield. This is an instanced battle where 50 players are sent to defend against 8 waves of corrupted. The waves grow in strength until they either break through the fortress keep and claim the control point, or are defeated by the defenders and retreat. The process of defending can be a bit chaotic, but when set up properly, you can easily progress through the waves, hopefully to success. Let's talk about the defense points and what they do. The fortress has a tall wall and 5 gates, which can be upgraded by the company that controls the region. Upgrades cost money and require repeatable quests to finish, as well as weekly taxes to maintain. If the company that controls the region fails to maintain the taxes, the fortress defenses will degrade and become weaker. The gates prevent the corrupted forces from walking into the courtyard, but they can be damaged and eventually destroyed. Once open, defenders with repair parts can rebuild the gate, but that is very costly and defenders should have at least 2 dedicated repairers. While the assault is happening, the repairers should also monitor for any corrupted that make it into the courtyard. The repair stations can be found on the second tier of the forward section of the walls, to the left and the right of the center gate. You will see an alcove with a cannon, which generates repair parts over time, at a period of 5 parts every 10 seconds. The stations do not share inventory, and each player on repairs can grab their own parts without worrying about taking from their partner. The invasion starts out with a few hundred repair parts. If everyone else is doing what they need to do and the RNG isn't too severe, under optimal conditions, repairs won't generally be needed until about 10 minutes in. It is imperative that people who aren't repairing don't collect the parts. This can lead to a quick defeat if repairs aren't done when it's critical. The station next to the repairs is where arms and armaments can be bought. People assigned to siege can buy their ammunition kits here, and gate defenders can buy haste, health, or cleansing potions. You can also get tier 5 ammo, which is equivalent to orichalcum, but it will disappear from inventory after the invasion. You can also buy fire traps as an item, but in corrupted invasions it is advised to not bother. Do not use fire traps, just don't use them. They do a short AoE burst of fire damage when triggered and will do 3000 damage to any enemies trapped in the blast. While this is useful and helpful in a PvP battle, it can ruin defense and cause a cascading series of events that leads to defeat. With Siege, on the wall and keep, there are a number of emplacement hardpoints. The hardpoints can be upgraded by the controlling company, and then during the invasion setup, the governor or consuls of the controlling company can adjust or change the siege weapons which are installed. Cannons are not recommended for the invasion. They have low ammo and have an uncomfortable drop-off for a projectile. They can do great AoE fire damage to groups of targets, but in the fast-paced battle you could easily miss your shot. The hardpoints over the gates can be equipped with a burning oil vat. They can do extreme damage to enemies at the gates, but it has a very long recharge timer. While they can be used, you will be better off equipping something else. The main guns used in invasions are going to be the repeater and the ballista. There are typically 2 or even 3 groups on siege, and most of the siege members can effectively handle 2 guns in the battle, depending on the situation. While assigned as siege, you will spend most of your time on a repeater. It is advised in the 15-minute setup period that you buy an ammunition kit with your starter tokens, which will completely refill the ammo for 1 siege weapon. This means 200 repeater ammo, 15 ballista bolts, or 8 cannonballs. The oil vat will refill on its own, and the battle horns don't require any ammo. While on the repeater, your focus should be on the bombers and snipers. Bombers spawn in a cluster and rush forward. They will explode, and even a few of them can wipe an entire group. Repeaters must take out the bombers first, and before they get into the range of the defenders of the group, followed by taking out the snipers that spawn in the corruption. The snipers do high single target damage and can quickly take out a defender. You can mostly ignore the grunts and semi-elite swordsmen and spearmen. The repeater ammo will be mostly wasted on elites like brutes, spriggans, and priests. Priests are shielded and immune to siege damage. They can only be hit with heavy attacks. There will be a short period of time between waves where defenders can return to the arms stations and refill potions or ammunition kits. Ignore the fire traps. During the invasion, enemy siege engines will spawn. They will be either infernal cannons or a bison trebuchet. The cannons target either siege weapons on the wall or the defending group. Their blasts can do a fair amount of fire damage, and when these spawn, the defenders on repeaters should hop off of their turret and go to their ballista. The ballista can take out an enemy siege engine in less than a full ammunition kit, generally with the assistance from bow or musket users on the wall or ground, or their partner ballista on another part of the wall. If the cannon targets your turret, hop off and get out of the fire. Shoot arrows or bullets at them until the fire stops, then quickly reseat yourself and shoot back. There are going to be 2 sets of guns aimed at each invasion point, so while you're being shot at, the partner on the other side is not. The bison trebuchet will launch a bison. You will hear and see the bison fly through the air into the courtyard. Once it lands, a corruption node spawns, and if it hatches, a corrupted grunt will be loose in the courtyard. They usually target the repair or arm stations, and if destroyed, they cannot be used for the remainder of the invasion. The repairers should monitor for bison and shoot the node when it spawns, which will immediately destroy it. It is important for siege to call out when a trebuchet is up and where the bison is coming from so that the defenders can be prepared. During the invasion, you shouldn't need to use any repair parts on guns. They can take quite a bit of damage before they break, and can be fully used until they're done. The setup for guns that we've seen most effectively can be like so. Starting at the left gate, or A gate, to the left you will want a repeater and a ballista. You can put a repeater over the gate for added support, and then a ballista and repeater. One siege member can handle 2 guns. Next, on the forward battlement, there are 3 hardpoints. The left and forward guns should be repeaters, and the right, facing the middle gate, or B gate, should be ballista. Over the middle gate, use a repeater, and then just flip the placements for the other side towards the right gate, or C gate. On the back gates, there is more limited view because the keep blocks a bit, but on either side of that you will want a repeater next to the keep and a ballista next to that. There should end up being 8 people who are controlling 2 guns and 5 who are only doing 1. And then with 2 repairing, that will be a total of 15 on siege. That's 3 full groups on siege, and it's so far been the most successful at clearing out the waves. There are also 2 points inside the courtyard for guns to shoot and defend the control point. You can do 1 repeater and 1 ballista. That leaves 7 groups, 35 players, to defend on the ground. Groups 1, 2, and 3 generally will defend gates A, B, and C, with Group 4 in back and Groups 5 and 6 roaming. A solid 5-person group can defend the gates with siege support against everything but the bosses. The roaming groups will need to wait for callouts of commanders, spriggans, corrupted bears, and multiple brutes. When they are called, they need to use haste potions to quickly get into position to help defend. While at the gate, many of the guns won't be able to aim directly at the attackers, so siege members can target further groups of corrupted at a distance to help reduce the strain on the defenders, but this is usually where it gets pretty chaotic. The generation of the waves is 100% random, with bosses being scattered in at later waves. They start out with brutes, which can easily be taken down by a group. Spriggans should be body blocked by actually using the block action, because they will ignore players and head right for the gates. If you can hold them in the field, your siege can shoot them down, but this is where the roaming groups can flank and start taking them out. It is important that the blockers do not get out of position, because if the Spriggan gets through, it will start doing massive damage to the gates. Commanders should be tanked away from the wall, and priests should be focused down with heavy attacks. When there are multiple elites at a single gate, this is really when the roaming groups need to be in position. Watch for callouts of bosses and then use haste potions to get to your defense point. This is where you won't be using fire traps. Do not use fire traps on Spriggans. You really shouldn't be using fire traps at all during the fight. It might be smart for the leadership to assign people to get fire traps and place them in the courtyard, because there is a limit of 10 total placed at any given time. A single repair person can fully repair a gate while a Spriggan is attacking it. While it's attacking, the defenders kill it and the repair gets topped off. Unfortunately, what happens is that while the groups are clustered at the gates, the waves keep spawning. Sieges should stay focused on taking out bombers and snipers and invasion siege weapons. There are no static numbers for what will be spawning. What comes is heavily dependent on RNG. Random number generation is a term used in games to decide what happens based on a set of predetermined sequences. If you get Spriggans in early waves, you may not get many toward wave 7 and 8. If you have none, you may get 5. Starting at wave 6, an enormous skull will appear over a corruption pool. This skull will shoot lasers from its eyes and should be tanked by, well, tanks. Their armor and health will give them sufficient time to get to cover, and they will get the laser to hit the ground or a battlement with line of sight. Range can shoot the eyes directly, and the siege can shoot them with ballista. I've seen groups both mostly ignore the skulls, but also heavily focus on them. They are very dangerous and can easily kill anyone who is unprepared for their lasers. If the gates are finally breached, then there is a call for everyone to come to the courtyard. However, at that point it might be too late. The repairers can rebuild gates, but forces have likely already made it through. They will begin attacking the control point, which is armored, but it can easily be taken down. Once down, if enough enemies are on the point, the invasion is lost. If you succeed at holding the defense until the 25-minute timer runs out, the corrupted invasion is defeated and there will be a period of peace in the region. If the defenders lose, a random selection of city and fortress upgrades will be removed. This can be the gates, guns, hardpoints, crafting or refining stations in town or the regional market. This can be very disruptive to people in the region who depend on their tier 5 loom to make high quality cloth, but also keep in mind that getting a downgrade can also help out the controlling company by reducing their weekly tax burden. Popular zones like Windsward or Everfall can usually self-support, but frontiers like the Cutlass Keys or Morningdale may have trouble earning enough tax income to keep the city upgraded. It is important to stick to your role in invasion defense. If you prefer siege, let the commander know. If you are a tank, let them know. Each group that's down on the ground should have a tank, a healer, and 3 damage. One of the major problems that I've seen with invasions is the defending company can only choose the first 10 people. The remaining 40 are added by the standby list. This means that you may not get enough healers or tanks, or even people at max level. A lower level character can still be just as effective at using siege weapons, but if you are below 60, you may be removed to make room for other players. Ultimately, you want to have fun and succeed. Test out the siege weapons, play with what the groups do, and come up with a good way to fight as a group. The key is working together, and you will get better with it over time. Winning the invasion can be very hard, but keep at it, because it is very rewarding. Thanks for watching this New World Game Guide. I am Winslow, and if you found this guide helpful, please consider leaving a like. I greatly appreciate your time and support, and we'll catch up next time.